The obvious discussion items included the assessment of the banks with regard to the state of the economy, the health of the banks themselves, particularly with regard to the NPAs, and the roadmap that they have on reducing the stressed and the non-performing assets, the state of the credit growth, the stalled projects, the state of educational loans and housing loans, the roadmap for the implementation of the Mudra Bank, because from agency it has to evolve into a bank, the improved role of private sector banks in various governmental schemes, which are the social sector schemes, and obviously the further transmission of the rate cuts by the banks. These were the broad issues which we have discussed today. Well, we can take some satisfaction of the fact that even though international agencies are rating us as perhaps the fastest growing amongst the emerging economies, but our own level of ambition is higher, and therefore we consider that the economy is recovering from the serious challenges it has faced in the past few years. Basic fiscal data looks good, and we are on a roadmap for a much higher growth. The government, of course, I told the banks in terms of policy initiatives, in terms of expediting the execution of stalled projects, will continue to play a very important role. Government spending in infrastructure has increased, and the banks themselves have felt that in sectors like roads, renewable energies, the effect of that is now being felt. Retail credit has picked up. It's the corporate credit which has still to pick up. And therefore, amongst the challenging situations which came up in order to improve the economy, and consequently the health of the banks also picks up with that. In the quarter ending 31st March 2015, the NPAs had come down from 5.64% to 5.2%. But I had mentioned earlier, one quarter itself doesn't indicate a pattern. So I would like to wait for some more time before realizing as to what the pattern is. The banks themselves are of the assessment that it may take them 2 to 3 quarters to reach a somewhat more greater comfort level. There was a lot of concern with regard to stalled projects. Many have started. And therefore, we decided that even though in the Cabinet Secretariat an effort is being made, the Prime Minister himself has taken a series of meetings. The Secretary of the Department of Financial Services, in consultation with the banks, purely from the banking point of view, will prepare a list of those projects which are stalled on account of reasons of finance. And therefore, that is something which we directly deal with. And both the secretary and even when necessary at my level, we'll be calling for a meeting of the representatives of the state governments, those projects and even concerned departments over the next few weeks and trying to resolve those projects. In fact, some illustrations were also given of projects where problems are capable eminently of a easier solution. We are, of course, keeping our fingers crossed as far as the monsoon is concerned. We are in the midst of monsoon. And I have already announced this earlier, and I informed the bankers also that with the revenue position becoming more comfortable, there is going to be a much greater investment in agriculture, so that we are able to help for future years the rural demand itself to pick up. Banks themselves are going to make an effort to reduce their NPAs. We did ask each of the banks which has a higher NPA level to explain the reasons and those groups on account of which the defaults were higher. Additionally, the banks put up a strong case for additional capital being inducted into the banks. And over the next few months, this is something which the government is going to seriously look at. The social sector schemes were also discussed. And I'm glad to inform you that as far as the two insurance schemes are concerned, the Jan Suraksha and the Jeevan Jyoti Yojanas, we have now touched a figure of 10.17 crores. Now these schemes was launched on the 9th of May. And today, in just 3 months and 1 month and 3 days, we've already crossed the 10 crore figure, which actually shows that in district after district of the country, lakhs and lakhs of persons are getting enrolled. The initial participation of the private sector banks in these schemes had not been as much as the public sector banks, but today, seeing the response, the private sector banks have also said that they are also receiving a very encouraging response and queries, and therefore they are also going to participate in a big way as far as these schemes are concerned. With regard to transmission of rate cuts, there was a detailed presentation as to how much each bank has done. You've had 3 rate cuts of 25 basis points each from December right till June, and some part of it has been passed on to the customers, whereas the banks had not passed on. I expressed a hope that over the next few days, and some of the bankers also felt that over the next few weeks they would be in a position to work out greater cuts. They've of course expressed their own problems relating to their balance sheets and higher rates of the social sector, small saving schemes, and therefore they've asked us to look at those small saving schemes. All I can say was that the meeting was, the environment was optimistic, since the movement even in the banking sector appears to be for the better. And this gives us a further hope of a greater recovery as far as the economy is concerned. Thank you. That's all I have to say.
One question.
Sir, you've said that there is a serious need for the government to infuse higher capital in PSU banks. How much are you looking at infusing in PSU banks? You've already budgeted 7,000 crore in this fiscal. And secondly, how soon can we see?
Well, I am
higher
not
capital
giving,
funding?
unless it's taken up in the cabinet and so on, I am not going to give any figures. But this is a strong case which the banks have made, and therefore I do believe that it's a case which merits government seriously looking into it. It's only after discussing it within the government and looking at our own abilities in this matter that your question can be answered.
Sir,
रेट कट के लिए आपने जो बैंकों को कहा है, रेट कट अक्रॉस द सारे सेक्टर में या फिर होम लोन, कंज्यूमर लोन, किसी सेक्टर स्पेसिफिक पे आपने ज़्यादा फोकस करने के लिए कहा?
देखिए, होम लोन्स के संबंध में तो वैसे भी थोड़ा कम है बाकी सेक्टर्स की तुलना में, लेकिन जो बैंक से चर्चा हुई वो ओवरऑल रेट कट्स के लिए कि जब आरबीआई रेपो रेट को नीचे लाता है तो उसका धीरे धीरे ट्रांसमिशन जो उपभोक्ता है उनको हो। बैंक्स का ये कहना था कि जब रेपो रेट बढ़े थे तो बैंक्स बढ़ाने में थोड़ा पीछे रहते थे, अब घटाने में भी रिजर्व बैंक से थोड़ा पीछे हैं क्योंकि उन्होंने अपनी बैलेंस शीट की समस्या बतलाई और फिर उनको ये लगता है कि अगर स्मॉल सेविंग रेट 8.5%, 9% का है तो उसकी वजह से उनके डिपॉजिट रेट्स ज़्यादा हैं, तो स्मॉल सेविंग्स रेट का उनके डिपॉजिट रेट्स पे प्रत्यक्ष असर पड़ता है, जिसकी वजह से उनको घटाने में थोड़ी सी कठिनाई है। तो ये सब
Finance Minister Arun Jaitley there addressing the press after meeting the heads of PSU Banks, and he said that that meeting was very optimistic. The mood was optimistic. He also talked about the NPA roadmap to try and reduce the NPAs of these banks, and he also spoke about how this was all on the agenda, the state of credit growth to stall projects, educational loans, the Mudra Bank, the rate cut transmission, and well, apart from that, he talked about the challenges. He said that India is the fastest growing economy in the world, but currently we are expecting to grow much faster. The ambitions of the government are higher. He said that the government will continue playing an important role in expediting stalled projects, infrastructure projects. He said the challenges are to bring the NPA down. He said it's already come down to 5.2%, but that was from 5.6%. But he doesn't know whether that's a pattern, and we'll need a little more time to understand the pattern. Much greater investment will take place in agriculture is what he promised, and he said that the insurance schemes have touched record highs. These are insurance schemes that the government has launched recently, including the Atal Pension Yojana. 10.17 crore people have applied for them, and this is in fact in just less than in a month and 3 days is what he said. And the PSB banks, so the public sector banks, have taken the lead in this, and now the private sector is also moving into this sector. In talking about the rate cut transmission, which he talked about later on in the latter part of his statement, he said that some part of it is being passed on to customers because the public sector banks are first looking at their own balance sheets, and they have promised that in the next few weeks, in fact, the position will become clear and there would be some rate cut being passed on. That's it then on this bulletin. Thanks very much for being with us. Namaskar.